So, you're new to Dungeons and Dragons. You're sitting down and making your first character. But what do? What character do you want to play? Well, today we're going to discuss Barbarians. Rage your way into battle with this one, and it's really not that hard. Hi, everybody. DM Kevin here with Michael.
How's it going?
Today we're going to be talking about Barbarians. Barbarians are one of the easiest classes to play because they are so streamlined and straightforward. There's not a lot of extra that goes into a Barbarian. So today we're going to be discussing from the very beginning, Michael.
Yeah.
So when you first sit down with the character sheet and you're filling it out from step one, what do we get as a Barbarian?
Oh, so we're just going to go down the list as the book lays it out. So we're going to start with their hit die and hit points. Their hit die is the largest that any class gets at a D12.
Awesome.
Which means starting at first level, you can have anywhere from 14 to 16 hit points.
That's huge.
That's a massive number for hit points, especially at first level.
Yes.
Because most other classes don't get that till like second level,
Wow,
second or third
that's
level.
amazing.
It's really nice. As they're moving down, let's start to talk about some of their proficiencies. So for armor, they have light, medium, and shields.
They get pretty much everything but heavy armor.
Everything but heavy armor.
That's awesome.
So if you don't have the high stacks, you can throw on that medium armor, and you throw the shield on, and now you have that like tank that you want to be.
Awesome.
So you have that kind of build. Moving on to weapons, they have simple and martial weapons, also known as every weapon in the game.
So they you can actually go off the entire list.
The entire list of weapons.
Now, that's not including ranged weapons, correct?
No, ranged weapons are also considered simple and martial ranged weapons.
Oh, okay. So you can do pretty much anything.
Yes, you can literally pick up any weapon in the game, and you will be considered proficient with that weapon.
That is that right there. That's awesome.
It's really fantastic. Now we're going to be moving on to their saving throws. Their saving throws are strength and constitution, really cementing that first line of defense. So that proficiency in cons really going to help against poisons and things like that. And then the strength is really going to help against any effects where you're grappled or starting to be restrained.
So you're going to be the beefy guy
You
on the battlefield.
You are muscles. You are muscles of the group most of the time. Moving on the list, now we get to choose 2 proficiencies from skills. And the list is animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival.
That sounds like a lot for the new players out there. That's a pretty long list.
It's a decent list. There are several classes that have much more.
Oh, wow.
But it's still one of the shorter lists.
Okay, so for the new players out there, what 2 would you recommend?
Me personally, I always recommend athletics and perception. Perception is always nice to be aware of your surroundings, see if anyone's trying to sneak up on you during an attack, and then perception also allows you to spot traps and see things and just being aware of your surroundings in general.
That could come in handy.
Yes, it's very handy. And then athletics is really nice because when you have to pick up that boulder and carry it uphill because the quest is telling you to move this 2-ton boulder up this 15-foot incline,
Right?
big muscles over there can get that done. So now you have someone to
Nice.
do that kind of thing.
Okay, so we've kind of gone over some of the abilities and things like that. Like the equipment. What equipment do you start with as a barbarian?
So with the starting equipment, you get your things from your background, and then you also get some things from your class. Your class is going to give you either a great axe or any martial melee weapon.
Oh, wow. So those are the heavy weapons. Those are not the light weapons.
Yeah,
right?
those are the weapons that are really good. They're the great swords, great clubs, long swords, short swords.
So they're the ones that are doing a lot of damage.
Yes, most of the time.
Okay.
They're the ones that really do a lot of the damage. Personally, I would just take the great axe because it does a d12 of damage, does a decent amount of damage, and you can really swing that thing around really good with that high strength score.
What else do we get?
So moving on, you either get 2 hand axes or any simple weapon.
Okay, so simple weapons are like daggers, clubs, those are smaller weapons.
Yeah, slings, javelins, things like that. Hand axes are nice because not only can you use them, you can turn them around, use them as a hammer if you need to, but you can also throw them. So they also double as a ranged weapon.
Nice. And what else?
And then you also get an explorer's pack and 4 javelins.
You get those automatically?
You just get those.
So you already have ranged weapons in the javelins.
Yep.
You have ranged weapon and the hand axes you can throw. Then you also have your great axe that you start with.
Yep.
You have medium or light armor that you have on already.
And a shield if you're not using
And a
heavy
shield
weapon.
if you're not using a two-handed weapon.
Yep.
I'm not going to get a shield. It sounds like if before you even start the game, you have a character that can take a lot of damage and deal a lot of damage.
They can definitely take that hit, especially with that D12 hit die, which is the highest in the game, as we said. You can really take that damage, and then you can also really deal it out, especially once we get into some of the class features. So now we'll start to moving on to the actual levels and abilities you get at your levels.
So at level 1, we get a couple of neat things. These are going to be some of the introductory things for a barbarian. The first one we're going to talk about is Rage. What exactly does Rage do?
Rage, personally, I believe it's the backbone of the class itself. You have advantage on strength checks, strength saving throws, and you have a bonus to your damage, which you get a +2 at the first few levels. And then you're resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage.
So that means whenever you're hit with a bludgeoning, slashing, or piercing weapon, you only take half.
Yes.
That's going to be huge because while you're in Rage and you're only taking half damage, that means you can take twice the number of attacks.
Like that 20 damage that boulder was going to do to you, now if you're in Rage, it only does 10, which means you can still stay in that fight.
Yes.
Where most other party members would have gone down at that hit.
And the next one we're going to talk about is the unarmored defense.
Yep.
This is where the barbarian has no clothes on and is charging into battle?
Not necessarily. So this is when the barbarian, they can still wear clothes because it's unarmored, not naked defense.
Okay.
So unarmored defense is going to give you 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your constitution modifier for an AC. So at first level, you can have anywhere from 14 to 16 AC at first level.
That's like heavy armor.
That is pretty close to chain armor, which is one of the most common heavy armor sets. And you're not wearing anything.
So at first level, you're actually pretty beefy.
You are basically the tank of the group.
Excellent. Well, after a little bit of adventuring and a little bit of moving on in the storyline, you're going to get to level 2.
Yep.
At level 2, the first thing we're going to talk about is the reckless attack. What is reckless attack?
Reckless attack is when you get to make a attack at advantage. It has to be a melee attack at advantage. But the downside is the next attack that's made against you has advantage on that attack.
So when would we want to use a reckless attack?
There are certain times that when we want to end a fight, like there's only one enemy left and we don't want him running away, that's when we can reckless attack, try to get that crit and do a massive amount of damage. And then of course you can also send a message to a boss if you want to be like, no, look at me, I can do the most damage here. You're smacking him in the face really hard. It's an equivalent to like doing a haymaker in a fight.
I see. Okay. But then they get advantage on you on their next attack.
That they do.
Okay.
That's the downside.
The next one's going to be something that a lot of people actually forget about as part of Barbarian.
Me being included.
This is Danger Sense.
Yes, Danger Sense is really nice. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws against any effects that you can see coming. So like a trap that you trip, that you purposefully trip, or you see a spellcaster about to cast a spell towards you, you'll have advantage on those dex saves.
And that could be used because with the advantage on those saves, you could only take half damage.
Half damage, or you just totally skip the trap and then you tell the rest of the party, hey, watch out for this pit.
That could be huge. So new players out there, just remember that at level 2, you do have Danger Sense. If you can see the trap or you can see the effect coming, you have advantage on the save.
The only thing is, if you're blinded, deafened, or incapacitated, you don't get this bonus.
I see. Okay, so now we've made it through our first dungeon.
Yep.
We're surviving. The party is slowly coming together as a group. We hit level 3.
Yep.
Level 3 is huge for Barbarian. This is where we're actually going to pick our primal path. This is going to be a big background, a big story-driven, like where you came from type thing that you're adding onto your character. So what are the two different types of paths we're able to choose from?
So in the player's handbook, we get two, which is the Path of the Berserker and Path of the Totem Warrior.
Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll start from the beginning.
Yeah.
With Path of the Berserker. What do we get from Path of Berserker?
Starting at 3rd level, you get Frenzy, which as a bonus action, you could go into a Frenzy, and every turn after that you go into the Frenzy, you get to make an attack at a melee weapon attack as a bonus action.
So you're getting 2 attacks.
2 attacks every round, but the downside is once you come out of your rage, you have a level of exhaustion.
Okay, so you may only want to use that sparingly.
Yes, very sparingly. Like if one of your parties goes down and now you have to make up for that extra person going down, because now the healer can go heal him and bring him back up. This is when you can go into that and start making multiple attacks.
The
The reckless attack does stack with this. So if you wanted to, you can be rolling 2 attacks at advantage every turn.
That would be huge.
It's really huge, but that attack that's made against you is still at advantage.
I see. All right. So the other one is going to be Path of the Totem Warrior.
Yeah.
Now, Path of the Totem Warrior, I mean, honestly, in most of the games that I've played in, this is the one that most people choose.
Yes. I believe it's for their first totem that they get. But before we get there, they do get this really cool feature called Spirit Seeker, which they get to cast Beast Sense and speak with animals as ritual spells.
Okay, now, ritual spell means it takes a period of time to cast these spells.
It takes 10 minutes to do
Okay.
a ritual, and then you can do those effects.
So, Beast Sense, what exactly what is Beast Sense?
So you would be able to tell if there's any animals in your immediate area.
And then speak with animals, I think is pretty well obvious.
It's very self-explanatory.
That could come in handy when you want to talk to your horse and find out what's going on.
Exactly. Or there's like a town guard or something going on. He always has a little parrot on his shoulder. You go talk to the parrot when he's sleeping, and now you understand what it's saying. Of course, parrot's a bad example because Polly only wants a cracker.
Yes. Well, so now I said Totem Warrior. There are 3 types of Totem Warriors.
Yes, there are 3 totems that you can choose from.
And what's the first one?
First one is everyone's personal favorite. It is the bear. As long as you are within rage, you're resistant to all types of damage except for psychic.
Okay, well, that's that's actually huge because it's like when you're only taking half damage from all those types, that includes spells.
That does
So
include
fire, lightning, whatever.
lightning, thunder, acid.
So you're taking half damage on everything except psychic.
Right.
But I think for Barbarian, psychic doesn't really mean much. But that's actually pretty good. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's really huge. It also really cements that I am the tank of the group, because then everything that you see, the danger sense at that point also really works, because now that fireball that's coming at you, if you pass your dex save, you're taking half, and then you're taking half of that because you're resistant.
So you're almost going to take no damage.
You're going to be taking a quarter of the damage of everyone else.
Okay. Now the next one that we're going to be discussing is one that I personally like.
Yeah.
Because this allows for a lot of maneuvering on the battlefield.
Oh yeah.
This is going to be the Eagle Spirit Totem. Your enemies will have disadvantage on opportunity attacks, which means if you move out of melee range of any of them, they will have disadvantage on any opportunity attacks on you. Not only that, but as a bonus action, you can dash, which basically means you can run straight through the enemies to get to the big bad guy.
Right, and dash is a really cool action you can do. It doubles your movement speed until the end of the turn. So now you're moving 60 feet around, and anyone that you run past has a harder time of hitting you. It makes you really maneuverable on the battlefield.
You become the tank of the battlefield at that point.
You really do. Not only are you the tank, but you're the tank that is literally zipping around the battlefield and no one can touch you.
And then the last one we're going to discuss is the Wolf Totem.
Wolf is my personal favorite. It's as long as you have a friend within 5 feet of you, you have advantage on attacks against your enemies.
See, that's huge. Pack tactics.
Yes, because you are the wolf. You do see everyone in your party as a pack, and so as long as you're both poking at a friend, you have that advantage, which really makes up for your reckless attack now, because now you're not being attacked at advantage.
True.
So it can really hit really hard, and it's very useful for making sure that you and a friend can really take down this enemy very quickly.
So at level 4, for a barbarian, it's very simple and very plain. You're going to get abilities to increase.
Yes. So you either get to choose 2 stats to increase by 1 or a single stat to raise by 2. Personally, I would recommend increasing con and dexterity. Not only do they give you higher AC because they both go towards that, the con also gives you a little bit more hit points.
I see. Yes. Now, we get into some of the beefier stuff starting in level 5. If you're able to make your barbarian up to level 5, you are now well on the way to creating the character that you actually want to be on the battlefield at all times.
Yes.
In the fray of battle, doing as much damage as possible, because the first thing you get at level 5 is extra attack.
Extra attack is really nice because anytime that you take the attack action, you get to make an additional attack.
That's huge, because now you're doing 2 attacks.
2 attacks a round, which is fantastic. Both of them could be reckless if you want them to be. Now you're rolling them at advantage.
So that's going to be huge. With if you're talking about doing reckless attack, doing frenzy,
Yep.
with extra attack.
It's 3 attacks a round.
I mean, that's huge. You can do a lot of damage very quickly.
That's almost 30 damage a hit, or pretty close to it.
And if you're one of the first ones onto the battlefield, that's huge.
That's really big. Something else that is really nice for the people that like the Eagle Totem, like you get fast movement. As long as you're not wearing heavy armor, you get a +10 to your movement speed.
So if you're dashing, that means you're doubling with an extra 10 feet of movement.
Yep.
So therefore, you're able to literally fly around the battlefield with Eagle Totem.
Basically.
And opportunity attacks are a disadvantage.
And it's really fantastic. That extra 10, you never know when it comes in handy. Because there may be that boss that started 15 feet in front of you before he started to run away. So now as the chase gets further on, you're going to eventually overturn him, and then you can cut him off.
That's nice. Now, at level 6, Barbarians, this is where your ancestry comes in. This is where your background really starts to build upon itself.
Yeah.
Because at level 6, you're going to choose your path feature. What are the path features that we have to choose from?
Oh, so for this one, you have your Berserker and then your Totem Warrior. They get 2 more things. So for Berserker, you get something that is really fascinating and not many people really use all that much from what I've seen, and that is Mindless Rage.
Now, Mindless Rage is you can't be charmed or frightened while you're in rage. Now, one of the neatest things I do like about this feature is the fact that if you are charmed or frightened at the beginning of a battle, and you go into rage, that frightened or charmed condition is actually stopped. It's just suspended while you're in rage.
Which is fantastic. So, like, in the beginning of the fight, if you're playing against or fighting some type of sorcerer or whatever it is, and they turn you to their side, you walk over there calmly, and then you're like, all right, now I'm pissed. Go into a rage, turn, and smack them in the face. Possibly making them drop concentration. They're no longer charming you. Now you can just wreck town.
See, and that's nice, because if you're able to break it, then you're able to help your team out again.
Oh, and it's fantastic. Then moving on to the Totem Warrior. Something that is important about Totem Warriors is every time you get to choose a new animal, you don't have to choose the same one as you did in the previous features. So this time, for Bear, your carrying capacity is doubled, and then you have advantage on strength checks against pushing, pulling, lifting, and breaking objects.
That's like breaking down doors.
Breaking down doors, pushing that boulder uphill, so muscles can really do it now. Dragging someone across a battlefield, whatever you need it to be.
And those are all done at advantage, which is huge. Now, we're going to talk about my favorite, the Eagle.
Yep.
Now, at this level, at level 6, you're able to see up to a mile. And not only are you able to see up to a mile, but it's as if you're looking at 100 feet.
Yeah. So, and then as the day starts to go on, it gets closer to nighttime, you're not imposed with disadvantage for there being dim, light, or darkness.
That can be huge, especially if you want to take first watch.
Yes, or if you're tracking someone down, it's getting late in the evening, now you can still see where they're going.
And then your favorite.
Wolf is still really great. Now you can track at a fast pace, and you can stealth at a normal pace as
Okay,
well.
when we talk about pace, what are we talking about though?
So normally when you're traveling across a map, you choose a pace, which is fast, normal, or slow. If you're tracking someone, you're forced to go at a slow pace. And same if you are stealthing. So now this allows your group to move at a normal pace against the map. So now it's like you're traveling normally, but now you're less likely to be seen, and you're chasing your quarry a lot faster.
That can come in handy.
Especially if they're like a day ahead of you. Now they're eventually going to be 6 hours, and then you're going to be on top of them before they know it.
That's nice. Now we go into level 7. You've done even more adventuring now. The next one I think is really cool, especially for new players.
Yeah.
Is going to be what's called Feral Instinct.
Feral Instinct is really cool. It gives you advantage on initiative rolls, which by itself is nothing to shake a stick at. Because now it's really making sure that you are going first, and you are going to be doing that massive amount of damage that you need to be doing.
Yes. One of the best things that I think about Feral Instinct is the fact that if you are actually surprised at the beginning of a round, you act normally on your turn.
It's as if you cannot be surprised.
Yes.
And then, of course, you must enter a rage before doing any of these. So it's as long as you're in a rage, then you have an advantage on your initiative rolls, and you can't be surprised.
You're going to rage during battle anyway, so you might as well do it now.
And then, in most things, it can start off as a discussion. You get pretty mad, go into a rage, and you start the fight. Now you get to be the aggressor in that fight.
There you go. Now, at level 8, this is another kind of a slowdown for the Barbarian.
Yep.
You're not getting any special things. This is going to be another ability score increase.
Yep, every class gets it. Something that is really nice at this point, if you feel like you're not doing enough damage or you're taking too much damage, that's when you can either increase your con or increase your strength to make sure that you're dealing or receiving less damage.
Nice. Now, at level 9, all you new players out there, this is something that is awesome. This is called the Brutal Critical.
It's really nice because now once you hit someone with a critical hit with a melee weapon, you get to roll an additional damage die. So not with that great axe, you're rolling the d12 for the die or for the weapon itself, 1 for the crit, and 1 for brutal critical. You're now rolling 3d12 for that hit.
That could be a lot of damage on one hit.
And then if you're raging and then plus your strength bonus, you could be doing upwards of 40 damage a hit.
That's as a new player, if you show up at the table in your first campaign and you make level 9 and you're doing 40 points a round damage, let me tell you, your party is going to love you.
Yes, you're definitely now the damage dealer of the party. Now if they have an issue, if your group has an issue with someone, they're going to point you at it and say, make sure it dies.
Well, everybody, we've discussed levels 1 through 9. If you have any questions or comments, please post them in the link below, in the comment section below, and we'll be more than happy to answer those for you. We'll be bringing out the next video soon, levels 10 through 20, high-level barbarians.
Exciting.
But hey, for DM Kevin,
And I'm Michael.
just remember, if you can't run through the dungeon,
At least crawl.
bye everybody.